in every way. They're really aggressive in special teams as well, and have had really good special teams play. They play on a short field a lot. They attack the ball defensively. I just think it speaks volumes of their program and how they operate and what they do. So you don't see a lot of deficiencies. They take risks, but they're well calculated risks and do a really good job. So as we prepare for these guys, it's certainly a challenging opponent and an exciting opportunity for us.
So right here with Zach.
What's the response been like from your team over the last 24, 36 hours from a game that you guys won, but you feel like you could play a lot better?
Yeah, they've been great. These guys, they know that they can play to a higher level. And that being said, I think there's moments in that game that you see a really, really good team play at a really high level that's played that way all year. But these guys are just ready to work, excited about the opportunity in front of them.
On the left, James.
Joey's been very complimentary of you this year, even at times unprompted. What have you begun to learn about him over these last 3 years of not just playing him a couple of years ago, but preparing for him again? And what level of appreciation do you have for him?
Yeah, I mean, Joey's an outstanding coach, and I always have an appreciation for a guy that's worked his way up through the ranks, and obviously has a storied career as a high school football coach, and then for his ability, I think you've always seen a guy that coaches with unbelievable passion. We've obviously got to compete against each other before, but I think the players take on the temperament of you as a coach, and he's a guy that brings the juice, and you see that with his team. His team plays like that, play like their hair's on fire, and obviously he's elevated in this profession and done an unbelievable job at Tech. Creating a culture there and creating a great roster, putting the right people around him. I think he deserves a ton of credit for that and what he's built and what he's created.
Second row, Eric.
I was going to ask you about that game in 23, maybe just first off lasting memories, and then what actually translates that you can take from that film and maybe use for this game.
Again, I think you get the mindset of their team. Obviously, that was a scrappy game. It was a tough battle for us. There's some changes that have changed for their team since then, different coordinators on, both sides of the ball. But you see a way that they compete, the edge that they play with. I think a lot of that comes from their head coach. But they're doing some really good stuff on both sides, like I said, of the ball now. Their defense, obviously, they're a team that plays a lot of base. They got some linebackers out there that are really aggressive. They have a ton of production, play with great vision. Their front is, one of the best that we've seen this year, if not the best that we've seen this year. Got great edges that can rush. They've created a lot of negative plays with the way that they play. And then on offense, you got two really big wideouts outside. You got a really good run game. You got a quarterback that can get the ball to spots, and then they play with great tempo. So all those things present a lot of challenges, a little different than maybe what we saw before, but still some really good variables in there.
Stand on the left, Matt.
Kind of along those same lines, where do you see maybe just the talent level growth from when you guys played them in 23 to now at Texas Tech?
Well, I think both rosters are considerably different, right? We look a lot different now than we did then. We had a really good team then, but I think we have, depth is a little bit different now in comparison. And certainly they have a really good front. Like I said, they've got some really good pieces to the puzzle. And I think it takes, a special person to be able to take all the people from different spots and create that team culture that they clearly have.
Back here, Jack.
Coach, by the time you guys faced off, they would have had about a month off. You guys having played this past Saturday, do you guys feel like that's more of an advantage for you to sort of get back in the action as opposed to like having an entire month off of playing? Do you think you guys have more of an advantage in that aspect?
I don't know if there's a side advantage. I think it's just more of an indicator that the way we do playoffs in college football is messed up, right? I mean, in my opinion, we're really excited to be going to the Orange Bowl, but this game should be played at Texas Tech, right? They're the higher seeded team. We should play a week, like right after the last game. The next playoff game should be the next Saturday. The next playoff game should be the next Saturday. The next playoff game should be the next Saturday, and the championship game. But we're trying to fit a lot of things in different sequence. But in my opinion, this game should be played at Tech. There should be a home field advantage for them. But I know their fans will travel, our fans will travel, and we're really excited to be playing in the Orange Bowl. So I could talk about what ifs and all those pieces. There's definitely a skill and an art to making sure that your team's prepared when you have long breaks. And I think that was clear last year. Certainly it'll be clear now. You got a little bit more time to prepare for this game, but a little bit different than the last one. And that's the other part that doesn't make really a lot of sense is the sequence of days in between each game and each playoff. There's just not really a rhythm. And for us as a coach, it's about how do you create that rhythm? How do you challenge yourself to say, okay, how can we keep things the same as much as possible for our players? And it's tough when you have big gaps and big breaks like that. But I don't know that it's a sided advantage for one team or the other. You're dealing with different issues.
Here on the right, Zach.
I want to ask about their linebacker, Rodriguez, one of the most talented defenders in the country, finished 5th in the Heisman voting. What makes him so special and so dynamic?
Yeah, super instinctual, really aggressive, and it's not necessarily just aggressive with like them blitzing him. It's his ability to find ways to get to the ball. And then when he gets to the ball, he has the intention to get the ball out every snap. Right? He takes shots at the ball consistently. Obviously, in the Big 12 championship game, you see their other linebackers show up making interceptions. They just play really well as a unit, and he's certainly a guy that brings that same juice for them. You see the whole defense play with that mindset, and I think he's where it starts.
James.
Can you detail a bit, Dan, about how your relationship with Spencer Leftwich in 2011 at Pitt, how that developed as quickly as it did in that year to where obviously that helped lead to Cutter being here now twice and where he's headed, and what the unique matchup will be for him and his brother in this game on Saturday?
Yeah. Obviously, a special, unique matchup with Mac being the offensive coordinator over there. Spencer, I was a GA while Spencer was our offensive line coach at Pitt, and as much as I'd like to say that's credit to Cutter being here, as much as that is Will's relationship with Cutter, working with him at UTSA, it allows people to link up again down the road. When I first met Cutter, he's a young kid, right, and now he's a really good football coach. And I remember Mac playing high school football, being a quarterback there in PA, being a really, really good player. So it's unique that you get an opportunity to go against him. So a little bit of a house divided there, but two outstanding coaches. Obviously, Mac, what he's been able to do there at Texas Tech, and before that, Texas State and Incarnate Word speaks for itself. He's had a lot of success. One of the most dynamic offenses in the country, and we got the bigger Leftwich on our side with Cutter, and he's done an unbelievable job for us. I'm really excited about him and his opportunities in front of him.
On the left, Eric.
You guys might have the best pass protection unit in the country. They might have the best pass rush unit in the country. Talk about what stands out with them and how big of a matchup that can be in terms of just the push-pull there.
Yeah, again, they generate a ton of negatives, and a lot of it comes from rushing coverage, rushing the four guys up front and letting the guys in the back end cover, and they do an outstanding job of that. They've got an arsenal of pass rush moves that you see show up, especially on the edges. Those guys, are a matchup issue. They do a really good job. So we'll have to do a great job of protecting the quarterback and making good decisions there.
You're on the right, Zach.
You mentioned struggling to find consistencies with the difference in days between games. What does it look like this week, these next 10 days with the holidays? Is there enough time for players to get away, kind of like you got that break before last game, or what's the schedule look like for you?
Yeah, there's not really that opportunity. And our players bought into that right when we hopped in the playoff mode that, hey, we're going to kind of take our break now at the beginning. And I think it was a good reset for them, but we'll be working. They'll get some time just right around Christmas, and we'll get some time to fellowship with each other. But beyond that, it's going to be really intent and focused on Texas Tech.
On the left, Matt.
Tatum's had a tackle for loss in every game this season, 14 on the year. It's the most since KT had it his freshman year in 2019. Can you just maybe speak to his development, his importance, and just how his game every week is consistent at that level?
Yeah, Tatum Tuioti does not get enough credit. I don't know if everybody in college football recognizes what kind of player we have in Tatum. He's gotten better every single year. He's disruptive. He's a player impact guy. Plays the run extremely well, rushes the passer well. There's a lot of things that Tatum does really well. He's a really smart player. Obviously, he's Tony's kid, so he's grown up in it in his entire life. But you see a guy that executes at a really high level, makes an impact in every game for us. You just said it. It's not easy to go get a TFL in every game. And it's not like we're calling every play for him to go make a TFL every single snap either. So for him to make that impact, that's really credit to him and being a great finisher.
Back to James.
Is there an update on Jordan Davison after Saturday?
Yeah, again, think that he'll be in good shape for this next game.
Here we go, Zach.
From an outside perspective, there's been a lot of noise that the way that Texas Tech has built their program through the transfer portal is, seemed as less than. You've dealt with that noise in the past before. I know you don't care at all about what other people say, but how impressive is it to you that McGuire has been able to go into the portal and use NIL to his advantage to build this type of roster?
Yeah, he's built a great roster, and college football is about adapting. This is obviously a program that's done an unbelievable job adapting and saying, okay, let's make our team the best they can possibly be, and they've done that this year. So they deserve credit for that because you have to evaluate. There's a lot of teams that take people out of the portal, right? There's not a lot of teams necessarily that always have success. It's about evaluating that talent, getting them to play together, and creating a team that does that. This is a team that's done that.
Back to Eric on the left.
What makes Morton a good quarterback for them?
Yeah, again, they operate extremely fast, and he makes great decisions. He's a guy that can make the throws necessary. He's got great weapons, and I think he understands that. Right, when I'm throwing it to these guys, they've got tight ends that can catch the ball. They have running backs that catch the ball in the backfield. They got really big wideouts outside, slot receivers. They throw screen game extremely well. They attack down the field. You don't have the amount of explosive plays they've had this season, right, without having a good operator at quarterback, right? And he's been a great operator and done a great job there.
Back to James on the left.
With a chance to review the film from Saturday, your thoughts on Dak and Gary getting back from injury, but also Gavin and Matt Johnson, redshirt guys who got a chance to get out there and get some run additionally in the fifth game.
Yeah, a lot of guys. It's great to have, some players back. I know Corey didn't have a million catches in that game, but he had some outstanding blocks in that game. Same thing with Gary, was able to make an impact in that game. It was great to have those guys out there. We see those guys as guys that, are leaders for our team and do an unbelievable job. And even though they're limited a little bit in practice, the role can grow for them because of their health and them getting back and getting healthy. And then Matt's been a player that's grown all year. I'm really proud of, Matt Johnson and Gavin as well. Those are guys that have been bounced back and forth between giving us looks and then being guys that are in the rotation to be able to play for us. For courtesy to them, we felt like they could have certainly played more snaps this season, but being close enough to where how big of a role is that? Do we give them an opportunity to redshirt? We thought that was in the best interest of them as players, but they're guys that could definitely be out there on the field helping us, and they were able to do that on Saturday and continue to see their role growing as the season goes on for us.
Back left, Olivia.
All season you've talked about consistency and preparation no matter the stakes or who the opponent is, but I'm just curious, does it vary at all player to player? Are there some guys where you can use the stakes of the game to fire them up a little bit and some guys where you're like, no, consistency, and how do you navigate that as a coach?
Yeah, I think ultimately the players understand the stakes of this game, right? And it means a ton to them. So it's probably more on the other end of, okay, let's focus on consistency of what's got us to where we're at this point, and how do we, attack the things that we have to improve on. But everybody knows the stakes. These are moments that you're excited to get to go be a part of, and these guys have earned it, but they've earned it with being consistent.
Sitting on the left, Matt.
With Corey and Gary back, how does that help Malik? How does that help Jeremiah? You guys have had to run skeleton crew almost with at that position. How does those guys return help the rest of the group?
Yeah, just the variety that you're able to carry. And I think it's anytime you have the weapons that we have, it's really hard. When sometimes when you play a team, you're like, okay, if we can take away this wideout, we take away strength. We can roll coverage to this guy. It's really difficult against a team like us with what we have at tight end, what we have at wideout, with what we have at back, and the ability to run the ball the way we've been able to do it. Having a quarterback that can throw it anywhere and everywhere, all those things have really added up. So strength in numbers is something that's paid off for us all season, and now having those guys back and fresh, it definitely gives us, the ability to attack people in different ways.
James.
Looking back at the defense as a whole this past weekend, Dan, is there something that stands out in terms of the things that can be controlled and things that can be corrected to get better results?
100%.
But those might be.
Yeah, I won't really get into detail just because, there's things that we can definitely attack that we can do better. Biggest piece is just getting off the field, right? We had some sustained drives in that game, and we gave up more explosive plays in that game than we have in the past. So figuring out ways to limit those and get off the field.
Eric on the left.
I guess with the game and being able to assess that, how would you assess Tosh and Will and how they've been able to manage all that they've had to deal with the last?
Their focus has been incredible, with everything that they're, dealing with, and there's a lot, and it's a real challenge. Again, I've experienced it myself, so I know what that looks like, but they've done an unbelievable job being able to attack, put in the same amount of effort and work, and there's just not more hours in the day. So you're working outside of those hours and you're not getting a lot of sleep. And that's the part you hope that we're all getting enough sleep that we can be effective when we go out there. But the focus, the attention to detail, like that hasn't changed. It wouldn't look any different than if we went week 5 in the season or week 6. Like the intent and the focus that these guys have put on their game prep is really good.
Back here on the right, Jack.
We talked a lot about Texas Tech's defense as well. Specifically, Jacob Rodriguez, he presents a lot of problems for the passing attack. What have you seen from Jacob Rodriguez and what you've studied already that allows him to have so much success in the pass defense?
Yeah, a little bit of what I said about him already. The ability to play with great instincts. He's a very instinctual player. I think that they do a great job closing zones and closing pictures for those guys in the back end. They attack the ball. Obviously, when you're up for the Heisman, there's a reason, right? And he's been that guy. He consistently attacks the ball. That's the one thing that really stands out on film is, the way he runs the ball and the way he attacks the ball when he's tackling people. He's not just trying to tackle you, he's trying to knock the ball loose.
On the left, Matt.
Before Jamie, Dante said that maybe he made too much of the moment against Indiana, and after that he took a different approach. How do you feel like he's grown since that game? Because this matchup will be maybe the best defense you've played since that game.
Yeah, I think the biggest piece is just experience, man. Like getting more reps and more opportunity, more time. Like our quarterback is not the same quarterback when he started the season. In the decision-making process, I know there's a couple that didn't go his way the other night, but ultimately you see a guy that's gotten better and better each week. His understanding, knowing how to solve problems, right? He knows that, right? He knows how to solve problems within our offense. He can check to a lot of things himself that allow us to have success. And I think he's proven he can make every throw, and he's got a lot of weapons that he can use. And that's probably the biggest piece that makes Dante different is every route's alive on every play, right? Anybody can get the ball on every play, and that's not always the case in every offense.
Back to James.
Their other unanimous All-American, Bailey, you've played before. What have they done to put him in an even greater position to, when he was having success at Stanford, be even better? And how different a player is he than the guy you played a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly improved, right? He's a player that's gotten better. But again, I think the misconception here is that these guys are really good at rushing the passer and they're not disruptive in the run game. And these guys are both, right? They're one of the best run defenses in the nation. But that's something you heard early in the season about, oh, these guys can rush the passer. Can they stop the run? Like, these guys can stop the run as well. They strike blocks. Both edges, like I said, are really, really strong players, do a great job. Obviously end up in the backfield a ton. And when they do get the opportunity to rush, they take advantage of it.
We're going to go to the Zoom. If you're on a Zoom and you want to ask a question, we ask you to turn your camera on. Owen?
Yeah, Coach, we just heard a lot about the mutual respect from coaches. You talked a lot about Coach Chesney, and then from Coach McGuire this morning, just said he really appreciates what you do. I'm curious, just when you're facing other elite staffs in December and January, just what the opportunities to learn from them are.
Yeah, when you watch film, you're always learning, right? And that's one thing that's exciting about playoff football is you start saying, okay, that was a really good play, right? And there's games that came from our game this past Saturday where I'm saying, okay, how can we challenge ourselves to do some of the things that these teams are doing? But you really focus more than anything on your own team, but there's just an admiration and respect for teams that are doing it at a high level, and Texas Tech's certainly one of those teams.
David from KAMC.
Yeah, Coach, you talked a little bit about Aaron Morton, but can you discuss the run game for Texas Tech as well? Two guys, Cam Dickey and Jacoby Williams, obviously a dual threat on the backfield.
Yeah, one, yards after contact, stands out right away. 20 obviously does a great job of stop and go. I think they have a really good balanced attack with both those guys. Inside runner, 8 runs extremely hard, breaks a lot of tackles. They both have great top end speed, so it shows up. And I think, again, the part that's probably not credited enough is the amount of receptions out of the backfield. I think they've got 54 receptions out of the backfield between the two of them. And that's another place where the quarterback does a great job of getting down to check downs when the vertical shots aren't there, or in the screen game, or easy throws on the perimeter. But they break tackles. They run extremely well. They run really hard. They break a lot of tackles and create extra yards after contact.
Justin from KCBD.
Hey, Coach. Just wanted to ask if you could get your thoughts on Texas Tech, and there's been a lot of things that have been said about the conference that they play, but from a coach's perspective, what do you see from this team that maybe the outside noise doesn't?
Well, one, good football is good football, and I've kind of always said that here is, regardless of what conference you're in, are you playing a high level of ball? And these guys play a really high level of football, right? And they've not just played opponents, they've dominated opponents, right? And to not dominate the way that they've dominated speaks volumes about what kind of team this is. So there's a ton of respect for them because they've got the winning formula, right? They protect the ball, they attack the ball on defense, right? They create explosives on offense, they prevent explosives on defense, they play really good special teams play. I think all those things show up, and you say, "What's a good football team?" Like those are the attributes. They have those attributes.
Don from the Lubbock Avalanche Journal.
Hey, Coach. I'm sure you told the story before, but Keith Patterson, the former defensive coordinator here at Texas Tech, talked about how relentless you were pursuing them for a job when you were a young coach. I want to say Keith said something like Joe halfway across the country trying to get the GA job with him. Can you relate that story from your standpoint?
Yeah, I've told it several times, but I was anxious to get into college football, and Coach Patterson gave me my first opportunity. I actually talked to him again last week and congratulated him on his success there at Abilene and the job he's done. But ultimately, waited in the lobby until I got an opportunity, and that's what I wanted, was just an opportunity to be able to coach college football. And Keith's the guy that gave me that opportunity, so forever grateful for him.
Anybody else on the Zoom? All right, we're good. Thanks, Coach.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.